You are not supposed to question a price tag, that's the trap. For decades, Walmart trained America to believe the number on the shelf is the truth. A simple rule, a quiet promise. But in 2026, that promise breaks and most shoppers will not notice it until they have already paid more than they planned. Prices shift by the hour, by the aisle, by the app, and by the algorithm humming behind the scenes. And yet the shelf looks unchanged, innocent, harmless. That's why it works. Because the new danger isn't inflation, it's misinformation at the register. You think you're buying a $3 item, you walk out having paid for, and Walmart never tells you why. This isn't a glitch, it's a system built to win the moment you stop paying attention. And tonight we pull the entire mechanism into the open, the one trap that will quietly drain money from millions of American households if they don't understand how it works. 1. The shelf tag that does not match the register. The first crack in Walmart's promise appears before the item even leaves the shelf. A price tag used to feel like a simple agreement: the number you see is the number you pay. That expectation held steady for decades because the system behind it moved slowly enough for everyone to follow. But in 2026, the pace of change inside Walmart stores is no longer gentle, and the shelf tag has become the weakest link in the entire shopping experience. When you pick up a carton of eggs or a box of cereal, the posted price still looks firm. It is printed, placed, and positioned as if nothing in the world could shift it. Meanwhile, the register in the front of the store may already be using a different figure. Those differences do not appear out of nowhere. They form when updates behind the scenes move faster than the tags can keep up, especially as stores prepare for the full rollout of digital shelf labels over the next year. The technology promises efficiency, yet the transition phase introduces more chances for the posted figure and the scanned figure to drift apart. At the same time, regulators have noticed these gaps. Several counties in California took action this year after finding scanning prices that rose above shelf prices. The enforcement language was clear: when an advertised price fails to match what customers are charged, trust erodes and shoppers pay the cost. That kind of oversight usually shows up only when a pattern becomes too large to ignore. It signals that the mismatch issue is not a rare fluke, but a symptom of a system under strain. Beneath that, consider the basic mechanics. Stores handle tens of thousands of items each, with frequent adjustments driven by supply changes, vendor agreements, or routine resets. Paper tags were never designed for high-speed cycles, and workers have limited time to update every aisle. One small delay in replacing a label can leave yesterday's price displayed, while today's price sits in the point-of-sale system. The shopper sees one truth, the register sees another. By contrast, most customers approach Walmart with a lifetime of familiarity. That long relationship shapes expectations. Shoppers assume the tag is right because it has been right for so many years. The moment a mismatch happens, it feels not just inconvenient, but unsettling. You begin to question other aisles. You wonder whether the next item will ring higher too. A single slip forces the shopper to carry more doubt than before, and that emotional weight builds quickly in an environment where every dollar matters. Moving ahead, the mismatch affects older Americans even more intensely. Many rely on tight budgets and fixed incomes where every purchase is planned down to the cent. If the shelf price signals one total but the scanner produces another, the margin for error disappears. Fixed-income shoppers cannot absorb those surprises without consequence. The store may correct it if challenged, but the burden shifts to the customer to spot and prove the discrepancy. That reversal alone changes the entire dynamic of trust. Set against this backdrop, the rollout of digital shelf labels adds another layer of tension. Walmart has stated that these tags are meant to improve accuracy, not trigger dynamic pricing. That may be true, but during the transition phase, the mix of paper tags, manual updates, and shifting system schedules creates a window where gaps appear more often. Shoppers do not care whether the cause is human or digital. They care that the number they saw is not the number they paid. After all, trust in a retailer does not break from one major change. It breaks from a series of small moments where the customer feels misled, even unintentionally. And nowhere is that feeling stronger than at the shelf, where an old promise still hangs in the air. A simple tag was once enough, but in 2026, certainty costs extra attention. 2. The rollback illusion. The word rollback still sounds solid, though its footing is no longer firm. For years, shoppers treated that yellow sign as a promise that the price beneath it would hold steady for a while. It felt like a small shield against rising costs, a moment of relief in a store where budgets are stretched thin. But in the current retail climate, the meaning of that sign has shifted, even though the design has not changed at all. Walk down any grocery aisle and you will see the same bright tag, bold and comforting. It stands out because it is meant to. It signals saving stability and a familiar piece of Walmart's identity. From there, the shopper assumes the deal will last long enough to matter. Yet the truth is less stable than the branding suggests. Rollbacks today sit on top of faster promotional cycles, vendor-driven adjustments, and shorter windows that few customers notice. What once stayed in place for weeks can now flip without much warning. In turn, this change is rooted in how modern retail battles inflation pressure. Walmart manages tens of thousands of items, and promotions are no longer slow seasonal events. They are fluid levers shaped by weekly negotiations, inventory conditions, and shifting wholesale costs. A rollback may launch to attract volume only to be pulled back when supplier margins tighten. The shopper sees the same yellow tag. The internal conditions controlling that tag, however, move at a different speed. Stepping past that, consider how the psychology of rollbacks was built. Walmart spent years reinforcing the idea that these deals were stable, not fleeting. People learned to trust them because the store consistently kept them around, long enough for families to plan meals and budgets. Today, the emotional memory of that stability still lingers, even though the promotional pattern behind it has changed. That memory misleads shoppers into expecting durability where none is guaranteed. In the next breath, think about what this means for households running on strict budgets. Someone shopping for staples might assume the rollback price will hold until their next trip. If the promotion ends sooner than expected, the bill rises quietly and the shopper absorbs the difference without understanding what happened. There is no clear marker telling them the deal is nearing its end. The shelf does not warn them. The store does not warn them. Only the updated tag gives the truth, and by the time it appears, the moment of savings has passed. From there, supplier influence adds another layer. Many promotions depend on arrangements between Walmart and manufacturers. When suppliers face higher production costs, they may reduce promotional support. A rollback built on that support then shortens or disappears entirely. To the shopper, it looks like inconsistency. To the supply chain, it is standard adjustment. The end result is the same. The promise of a rollback no longer matches the speed of the world behind it. By stepping inside the mechanics, you see why older Americans feel this shift more acutely. They grew up with the idea that a discount meant something firm, something you could rely on. Rapid promotional turnover feels destabilizing because it undermines a lifetime of learned behavior. Senior shoppers who track every cent do not just lose money when a rollback expires early, they lose confidence in their ability to predict costs at all. Even so, the rollback sign keeps its friendly shape. It looks unchanged, which is why this illusion works so well. The branding still communicates steadiness, even while the deal itself may be rotating through shorter cycles. That gap between appearance and reality is the true trap. The shopper believes they are stepping onto stable ground, even though the floor beneath them shifts more often than it used to. A deal is only a deal when time stands still and time refuses to slow down. 3. Shrinkflation behind familiar packaging. If the rollback illusion shakes your confidence, the next trap hits even harder because this one hides in your hands. Some pricing tricks show themselves in numbers. Shrinkflation hides in the shape of things, turning an everyday package into a quiet, legal sleight of hand. You do not see it until the moment you need it most, and by then the missing ounces have already slipped away. The trouble hides in plain sight, tucked behind familiar colors and steady shapes. Pick up a bag of chips, a box of pasta, or a bottle of detergent. The design looks unchanged. The logo sits exactly where it sat last year. The weight of the packaging feels close enough that your memory accepts it without question. Yet the truth sits in a tiny corner of the label where the net weight has quietly dropped. 1 ounce here, 2 ounces there, sometimes more. None of it looks different until the moment you compare it side by side with an old box you no longer have. Moving forward, this tactic thrives because it does not activate the warning systems shoppers use. A higher price triggers caution. A new brand triggers comparison. A different shape triggers curiosity. But a familiar package that triggers trust. Companies understand that the fastest way to change value without changing perception is to keep the outside exactly the same. Consumers glance at the front, never the fine print. And the fine print is where the cuts occur. Layered over this, regulators have already documented how widespread these reductions have become. Reports from consumer watchdogs show downsizing across chips, cereals, household goods, even personal care. The pattern is simple: maintain the look, reduce the volume, hold the price. Technically, it is not deception. Legally, net weight is displayed. Emotionally, shoppers feel blindsided when they discover they have been paying full price for less product. The law protects the numbers, it does not protect expectations. Set against this reality, shrinkflation hits older Americans with unusual force. Many rely on decades of habit to estimate how long a box of cereal lasts or how many meals come from a bag of rice. When the weight drops but the package stays identical, their calculations fall apart. A week's groceries no longer stretch to a week. A month's supply turns out to be only 3 weeks. The product has changed, but the mental math has not, and that gap takes money straight out of their pockets. To break this down, consider a practical example. A shopper who buys the same cereal for 20 years knows exactly how many bowls it provides. Their budget, their morning routine, their portion sizes all rely on memory. When the box shrinks by a few ounces, the cereal runs out sooner. The shopper returns to the store earlier, spending more frequently without realizing why. Multiply this small shift across dozens of products, and the effect becomes a slow, relentless erosion of household stability. Put differently, shrinkflation does not just reduce quantity, it reduces predictability. It disrupts planning, especially for people with fixed incomes, who cannot easily adapt to sudden changes in consumption. Older shoppers may suspect prices are rising, but few realize the deeper truth: sometimes nothing changed at the register. The change happened inside the box. Viewed through this, packaging becomes part of the trap. The clean lines, the bright colors, the familiar fonts, all of it works to preserve the illusion that you are buying the same thing you always have. Meanwhile, the contents keep shrinking while the price stays steady. The shopper absorbs the entire impact, one missing ounce at a time. When the ounces shrink, trust shrinks with them. For store-based price variation, some things in retail are annoying, but this one feels downright insulting. After everything shoppers already deal with: rising bills, shrinking packages, shorter promotions, you would think the price of the same product at the same chain would at least stay consistent. But even that small comfort is gone. Walmart's prices can shift the moment you drive into another neighborhood, and the store does not even warn you. The next trap feels even more personal because it changes from town to town without ever telling you. One of the hardest truths for shoppers to accept is this: Walmart does not charge one national price. The same product, the same brand, the same size. Yet the cost can shift the moment you drive a few miles in any direction. Walk 10 miles toward another neighborhood, and you may see the exact item you bought yesterday, sitting on a shelf with a different number. Walmart has stated this openly. Prices vary by store based on local inventory, local competition, and local conditions. That is not speculation. That is their policy. And once you know it, the idea of a predictable grocery bill starts to fall apart. Put differently, two customers standing in two different zip codes can pay two different prices for the same carton of eggs. Not because of a sale, not because of a special offer, simply because the system treats each store as a separate pricing world. For shoppers who grew up believing Walmart was the great equalizer, one store, one price, one rule, this feels like a quiet betrayal of a very old understanding. Stretching this further, the variation is not rare. It is built into how modern retail operates. Retail analysts have long noted that large chains use zone pricing, a structure where prices are adjusted by region or even by neighborhood to match demand, competition, and cost pressure. Walmart does not publish its zones, but the evidence sits on the shelves: identical products, different numbers. You see it in staples like bread, milk, pasta, detergent, the everyday items families buy without a second thought. In practice, this hits older shoppers the hardest. Many live within a fixed radius and rely on routine. They buy the same items in the same sizes on roughly the same schedule. Their budgets leave almost no room for surprise. When a product that cost $3 yesterday costs $3.40 today, at another store 10 minutes away, the increase feels arbitrary. And arbitrary is the one thing households cannot plan for. Looking closer, the reasoning behind these differences makes sense on paper. A store with excess inventory may drop a price to move stock. A store facing stronger local competition may adjust numbers to stay appealing. Another store with higher operating costs or slower turnover may keep prices higher. From a business standpoint, this is efficient. From a shopper's standpoint, it creates an emotional whiplash. You never quite know what anything will cost until you are standing in front of it. Viewed through this, the frustration grows. Consumers are not asking for miracles. They are not asking for discounts on everything. They are simply asking for consistency, the basic ability to know that the price they rely on today will not morph into something else tomorrow simply because they crossed one city line. That is not an unreasonable expectation. That is the foundation of trust. Along these lines, think about the planning consequences. A family mapping out a week's groceries may believe they know their totals. But if their usual store is out of an item and they go to another Walmart nearby, they may spend more without warning. A price difference of 20 or 30 cents may seem minor. Once but repeated across dozens of items week after week, it becomes a meaningful drag on a household budget, already stretched thin. In real terms, the shopper pays the entire price of this uncertainty. They carry the stress, they absorb the surprise. They are the ones standing at the register wondering why the total feels steeper, even though the cart looks the same. And the longer this continues, the more shoppers begin to doubt whether any price tag at Walmart can be taken at face value. Uniform shelves no longer promise uniform prices. 5. The multi-unit illusion. If inconsistent store pricing leaves you feeling like the ground shifts under your feet, the next trap goes after something even more basic. The idea of a deal. Multi-unit offers the famous 2 for $5, 3 for $6, 10 for $10, look friendly, simple, and generous. Yet in practice, many of these promotions save you far less than you think, and some do not save you anything at all. Some deals glow because they are meant to, not because they save you money. A large red sign catches your eye promising value. It sits bigger and brighter than the regular price tag. It tells you that buying more is the smart move, the economical choice, the way families stretch a budget. But beneath that glowing sign sits a much smaller label, the unit price, and that tiny number often tells a completely different story. To break it down, consider a simple example. A store may offer 2 boxes of pasta for $5. That sounds straightforward, but the single box price might already be $2.50. In that case, there is no discount for buying 2. The promotion is just a repackaged version of the standard price. Shoppers fall for it because the human brain likes the structure of a deal. 2 for $5 feels better than $2.50 each, even when the math is identical. By stepping inside the numbers, the truth becomes clearer. Consumer pricing studies show that multi-buy deals often rely on the shopper assuming savings rather than verifying them. Older Americans in particular tend to trust these offers because multi-unit promotions were once meaningful, especially in the decades when grocery stores used them to clear inventory or reward bulk buying. Today, the tactic survives mostly as a framing tool, a way to nudge shoppers toward grabbing extra items they did not plan to buy. Once examined closely, the frustration grows. Unit pricing, the real measurement of value, is usually printed in small text. It might sit low on the shelf, angled downward, or formatted in a way that blends into the background. Meanwhile, the promotional sign stands tall and bold. The shopper is not avoiding information. The information is simply harder to see. And when eyesight declines with age or when someone is in a hurry, the large sign wins every time. Even worse, some multi-unit deals end up costing more in the long run because they push families to buy items they would not normally purchase in those quantities. A household that only needs 1 bottle of sauce buys 2. A single person who needs 1 carton of yogurt buys 4. The cart looks fuller, but the extra spending piles up over weeks and months, eating away at budgets already stretched thin. Once you pull back the curtain, the pattern becomes hard to ignore. Many of these deals rely on psychological momentum. You see the promotion, not the math. You feel the urgency, not the detail. You respond to the color, not the unit cost. For people living on fixed incomes, this is more than a mild annoyance. It becomes a slow leak in the budget, one small overpayment repeated again and again, until it forms a meaningful financial strain. By stepping back, you begin to understand the deeper issue the illusion works because it never tells you it is an illusion. It uses your trust in the idea of a deal. It uses your memory of a time when promotions were straightforward. It uses your hope that stores still reward bulk purchasing. And it quietly replaces the old meaning with something far less generous. If the basket looks fuller but the math feels thinner, the deal was never real. And the most troubling part is this. The next trap does not just bend value. It decides who gets access to value at all. 6. App-first pricing pressure. If the last segment made you question whether a deal is ever a deal, this next trap raises a harder question: who even gets access to the deal in the first place? Increasingly, the answer is not everyone. It is everyone who uses the app. The issue shows up the moment you hold your phone beside a shelf tag and see 2 different numbers for the same item. One price belongs to the store, the other belongs to the app, and the gap between them is widening. Savings that once lived on the shelf now live behind a screen locked behind digital offers, digital rewards, and digital-only manufacturer discounts. If you do not use the app, you simply do not get the price. The impact of that shift is immediate. Seniors, budget shoppers, and anyone uncomfortable with technology end up paying more for identical products. The difference might be 50 cents here, $1 there, but across a full cart, across a full month, across a full year, the divide becomes real money that some households cannot afford to lose. Once you see it, the frustration becomes impossible to ignore. You walk into Walmart expecting one level playing field. Instead, you find two. One for people who navigate a digital ecosystem with ease, and one for people who shop the way they always have, trusting the shelf tag as the truth. In the old system, the store told you the price. In the new system, the phone does. From this angle, the pressure feels deliberate. The app is no longer just a convenience tool, it is a gateway. Scan and Go makes the in-app experience feel like the premium path. Walmart Cash Rewards create a second price available only if you tap Clip and Claim. Manufacturer coupons increasingly skip the physical shelf and route themselves straight into digital wallets. None of these moves are hidden. They are simply positioned in a way that makes the shopper without a smartphone feel like they are being left behind. Looking closer, this changes shopping behavior in subtle ways. A customer who wants the lower price must pull out their phone check the item, compare it, claim an offer, and sometimes scan it. The shelf tag becomes a suggestion. The app becomes the actual source of truth. That flips decades of habits on their head. And for older Americans who grew up trusting printed signs, the shift feels not just confusing, it feels exclusionary. On that note, the emotional cost grows alongside the financial one. People do not want to feel like they must earn access to a fair price. They do not want to feel like they must enroll in a system, track digital offers, or analyze a screen every few feet just to protect their budget. Shopping is supposed to be straightforward, but this new model turns the grocery aisle into a two-tier economy. Those inside the digital circle pay less. Those outside of it pay the standard rate without even knowing it. Stemming from this, the sense of control slips away. When prices depend on whether you have the right app, the right login, the right update, or the right digital coupon at the right moment, the shopper becomes reactive instead of confident. The shelf stops anchoring the experience. The phone anchors it, and once the phone becomes the anchor, Walmart controls the flow of information entirely. From this angle, the longer-term effect is even sharper. App-first pricing conditions shoppers to use digital tools every time they walk inside the store. Over time, this creates a behavioral lock-in. You check the phone because you fear paying more if you do not. What started as an option becomes a requirement, and that requirement is where the real trap sits. Looking closer, none of this is illegal. None of this is even hidden. But it raises a simple, uncomfortable truth. Two customers standing in the same aisle may not be shopping under the same rules anymore. A discount that stays hidden might as well not exist, and the next trap proves how quickly those hidden systems can reshape the very idea of price. 7. Dynamic inventory pricing. If the app already made you feel like there are two versions of every price, this next trap shows you something even more unsettling. The price itself may not stay still long enough for anyone to catch it. What used to be a weekly adjustment or a Sunday reset now shifts in real time, driven not by people but by the system behind the shelves. In the background, Walmart's automated replenishment engine tracks stock levels, sell-through speed, local demand, and even how fast a product moves compared to nearby stores. When those numbers change, the system can quietly push a new price into the point-of-sale database. No announcement, no special label, no warning. Just a new number instantly active. This creates the kind of issue shoppers never expect. A price can change within a single day, even though nothing about the shelf tag changes with it. A jar of pasta sauce might ring up higher at 4 in the afternoon than it did at 9 in the morning. A bag of rice might jump because a rush of customers bought too many that week. A box of cereal might reset because the algorithm thinks demand is rising. On the surface, everything looks stable. Inside the system, everything is moving, and the impact is sharpest where it hurts most the budget. Shoppers do not plan for a world where the price can change halfway through a shopping list. Older Americans already navigating mismatched tags, app-first deals, and shrinking packages now face another layer of uncertainty. They calculate their totals carefully, aisle by aisle, only to reach the register and discover that what they saw is not what they are being charged. Not because anyone made a mistake, but because the price simply updated behind the scenes. Once you understand this mechanism, the frustration becomes physical. Grocery shopping used to follow a rhythm. You checked your pantry, planned your meals, estimated your costs, and trusted the store to meet you halfway. But real-time price adjustments break that rhythm. They turn a routine trip into a guessing game. And that guessing game adds mental load, the kind of stress that builds quietly until it drains patience, dignity, and confidence. Looking closer, the design is not malicious. Walmart's system was built to optimize inventory, reduce waste, and ensure shelves stay stocked. But the side effect is undeniable. The shopper carries the confusion. When the algorithm moves faster than the shelf can keep up, the printed tags fall behind. And when the printed tags fall behind, the customer becomes the last person in the store to know the real price. This is where the emotional slope steepens. Many older shoppers come from a generation where prices stayed steady for days, sometimes weeks. A number printed on paper meant something. It was a promise. Today, that promise feels weaker each year. When a price can shift during the same shopping trip, the sense of being in control fades. You stop trusting the aisle, you start doubting your list, and you begin bracing for a surprise every time your items land on the belt. From this angle, the deeper problem surfaces. Real-time pricing does not just affect the total you pay, it affects how you experience the store. Instead of stability, you feel volatility. Instead of clarity, you feel tension. Instead of predictability, you feel the need to monitor your basket as if you were watching a stock market ticker. And that might be the hardest pill to swallow. The grocery aisle should not feel like a trading floor. When the price can change before you even reach the checkout, the entire meaning of a shelf tag collapses. 8. How to shop wisely in Walmart in 2026. After everything we have walked through, mismatched tags, shrinking packages, shifting store prices, misleading deals, app hidden discounts, and real-time algorithmic jumps, it is fair to ask a simple question. What do you do next? Because the truth is unavoidable. In 2026, Walmart will not slow down. The technology will not pause for breath. Digital shelf labels will expand across thousands of stores. App-first pricing will become the default. Automated inventory engines will adjust numbers faster than printed tags can respond. The rules are changing whether shoppers want them to or not. But changing rules do not mean you lose control. They mean you need a new strategy, one built on habits that still work no matter how fast the system moves. Start with the most reliable tool you have: the unit price. Promotional signs may shift every few days. App prices may fluctuate based on rewards or digital coupons. But the unit price cost per ounce, per pound, per count stays closer to the truth. Before any item goes into the cart, pause for 1 second and compare the unit price to the deal. You will be surprised how often the smaller print tells the real story. Next, treat the shelf price and the app price as two separate worlds. In 2026, they are. Shoppers who want the lower number should check both. Open the app, scan the item, and see what the system says. If the app shows a cheaper price, screenshot it. That screenshot becomes leverage at checkout if the register tries to charge more. You do not have to argue, you simply show the system its own number. Then pay attention to product size, because shrinkflation will not slow down. A package that looks the same may weigh less, pour less, or hold fewer servings. Every time a familiar product feels lighter, flip it to check the net weight. Treat size as part of the price, not an afterthought. Families save more money by catching size reductions than by chasing many advertised deals. Another strategy is to prefer stable categories, items that move slowly through the system. Products with long shelf lives or consistent demand tend to experience fewer rapid price swings. Pantry items like flour, sugar, rice, oats, dried beans, or basic spices change less often than snacks, drinks, refrigerated items, or seasonal foods. When you want predictability, lean on the categories that behave predictably. Right after checkout, do something simple that most shoppers skip: scan your receipt for mismatches. If the receipt shows a number higher than the tag, speak to customer service immediately. Walmart policy requires honoring the lower posted price, and it is far easier to correct the issue on the spot than after you leave the store. Over an entire year, catching these small mismatches can protect hundreds of dollars for a fixed-income household. It also helps to build something personal and powerful: a price memory list. Write down the prices of the 10 to 15 items your family buys every week. The next time you shop, compare what you remember to what you see. This one habit cuts straight through real-time adjustments, short-term promotions, and shrinking packages. When you know the normal price, you know when something has quietly shifted. Through all of this, keep one idea at the center: you're not powerless. The pricing environment is faster, yes. More digital, yes. More unpredictable, absolutely. But awareness still beats confusion. Patterns still reveal themselves. Good habits still save money. If the rules keep changing, then learning the patterns becomes the real advantage. And in 2026, that advantage belongs to the shopper, Who looks twice, asks once, and never assumes the price tag is the final word. In the end, none of these changes mean you should fear the store or abandon your routine. Walmart is still where millions of Americans buy the basics of everyday life. But two truths can exist at the same time. The store can remain essential, and the pricing system can demand more attention than it used to. If anything, 2026 is the moment to shop with your eyes open. The traps are real, but so is your ability to recognize them. A steady habit. A 1-second pause, a second glance at a receipt. These are small actions that add up to real protection. Because the goal was never to make grocery shopping stressful. The goal is to help you walk into a store knowing exactly how to keep your budget intact, even when the rules keep shifting around you. So take this knowledge with you, use it, share it, and let it protect the dollars you worked hard to earn.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.